everyone. We are going to cover the new functionality that is being introduced in 15.8, which is the field level security. So starting 15.8, we now have the ability to secure individual attributes in modern UX. Administrator now have the option to control who can view and or edit an individual attribute within the modern UX. This functionality is for modern UX only. Why is this important? Customers that have been using Classic UI for a long time have created essentially a way to secure certain attributes. And the way they would do that is by creating pages with default display conditions, and the display condition would include user groups, and that way they can secure certain attributes within that object itself. That security would not apply everywhere in the application, which means any portlets built on top had to have its own options checked, otherwise you can bypass it and so on. The customer's ask was that when they moved to the modern UX, that functionality to be able to control or have a security control over certain attributes was not available, and they felt that as a security gap and could not use the modern UX because of that. Starting 15.8, we now have the option to secure attributes, and you can apply that for individual attributes for the two different objects, which would be ideas and projects. So in 15.8, there is going to be a new tile that's going to be available under administration. The tile is going to be called attributes, and that's where administrators can define which specific attributes under the idea object or the project object can be secured. There is a new right that is introduced. The right is the attributes management navigate. That's the new right that has to be assigned to an administrator to be able to get into the attributes tile to define the security for individual attributes. Of course, the administrators will need the administration access right. This is an existing right that gives them the ability to even see the menu for administration within the modern UX. So those two rights are needed for them to get to the administration and then get to the attributes. The attributes piece is using the common grid functionality. So the same functionality that we are all used to of using, which is it's an Excel-like layout. You have the options to add columns into your view. You can save your views. You can filter down specific attributes that you want to secure or be able to see which attributes are secured. Access right is assigned to individual user groups. You can assign rights to one or multiple user groups. So in this example, you can see I have quite a few financial attributes that are secured. So the three columns that are very important in order to securing, the first one is the secure column. That is where you would check the attribute if that attribute needs to be secured or not. Without that check, an attribute is not secured regardless of the values populated under access edit and access view. This field has to be checked to secure an attribute. Once the attribute is secured, which means this checkbox is enabled, then the next two values become important because the access edit allows who can view and edit that attribute, and access view controls who can just view that attribute but not make any modifications. Neither one of the two are populated, then that specific attribute is hidden from every user in the system, including the administrators. Edit right obviously gives you the option to view and edit the data, and then view only gives you the access to view it. So going through a little bit more in detail, the field level security administration, like I said, is based on a grid view. The number of attributes that are available to you to include in your grid view are all listed right here, which is the attribute name, the attribute ID, the object it is part of, the three specific security control. We also display the database table and columns for reference perspective. And then you can see when was the last time that specific value was set by looking at the created by and the created dates for those specific attributes. You do have the option to export this entire list. So once you have secured all the different attributes and you want to keep track of If you want to keep track of the different attributes that you have secured at a specific time, you can export it out for your reference perspective. The secure flag is the key flag, like I had mentioned. If this flag is not set, then the attribute is not secured, regardless of the value populated in the access edit and access view column. We covered the access edit and access view, which is where you define one or multiple user groups that this access can be defined to. Cannot give access right to individual users. It has to be given to a security user group. And you have the common grid functionality available where you can save the view as well as apply different filters to see and find specific attributes. Once a specific attribute is secured, then we have a visual indicator across the application to indicate that a specific attribute is protected or secured. And that visual indicator is this new icon that you will see on top of the attribute in multiple places of the application. So in the grid view, you will see that icon right here along with the name of the attribute. Inside the detail, you will see the same thing right next to the name of the attribute right over there. And we will see this during the demo. So there is a visual indicator for all the users to know that a specific attribute is secured. The user that have edit access, right, can see the data as well as they can edit that data in the grid view, in the detail flyout, as well as in the detail module. So everywhere that attribute is editable, that user will be able to edit its value. If a specific user has only view access rights, then we have two visual display. The first is the same one, which is that that secured attribute will have this icon displayed on top saying that the attribute is secured. Second, if the user tries to edit that secured attribute, but they do not have the edit right, then we will display this icon indicating that the user does not have the edit right, but they can only see the data. So as you can see in this example, this user only has view access right, and they're trying to edit the financial value, and they're not able to do that. In the grid view, we display this icon. In the detail flyout as well as in the detail module, the fields are grayed out, so the user will see right away that those fields are not editable to them. If a user does not have view or edit right to a specific attribute, then that attribute is not displayed anywhere in that in the system to them. Which means if I have the financial attributes secured in my project object, when I go into the project list view and I try to add any of the secured attributes, I will not see them in the available columns. If they were in any view that I'm trying to access, they are automatically removed from those views, and the view status is set to unchanged or unsaved. If I go inside the details, then I will see a blank space where that specific attribute or the secured attribute was. So as you can see in this example, I have a blank space right here indicating that the attribute is completely removed and I cannot see it. Of course, this would be now up to the administrators to have those attributes defined in such a way that the blank space is not very obvious to the end user. The other comment is that if I have a section where all the attributes in that section are secured, then we basically just remove the complete sections for those users who do not have access to view or edit all the attributes in that section. So this way now administrators can define their detail module sections based on the different security rights that they want the users to be able to see or not see. Certain things to know of in regards to the field level security. First is the business rules will always take precedence over field level security. What that means is that if there are business logic to say that that the certain field value is auto-calculated and should not be edited by any user, then that will still take precedence over the field level security. So just because I can assign somebody an edit right to that field does not mean that they can now go modify and override the business rules. An example to explain that is Plan cost is a calculated field which is a sum of the planned capital cost and planned operating cost. I can, using the attributes, grant edit right to plan cost, but that does not mean the user can go into the system and now start editing those values to override that calculated field. Second, the field level security takes precedence over instance, OBS, and global rights, which means even if an individual user has instant, OBS, or global right to edit a specific object instance, if a certain attribute within that instance is secured, then that user will not be able to edit or view that specific attributes based on the security right assigned in the field level security section. Third, we still honor the parameterized lookup. What that means is if I have two lookups, one is dependent on the value of the first lookup, then and in that example, if a user does not have edit or view right to the first lookup, value they select for the second lookup would still honor the parameterized values based on whatever was populated in the first lookup. Third, hierarchy does not honor field level security. This is something we do plan to get to in the near future. For right now, in hierarchy, you'll still be able to see the values that are secured. Next, the field level security is only for modern UX, which means any security that you set for the attributes in the modern UX will not be honored in the classic UI. So if a user has access to the classic UI, you still need to continue to use the existing classic UI functionality to secure those fields using the views and page display conditions. And last, the following 5 fields cannot be secured: the ID, name, start, finish date, and the blueprint ID. The blueprint ID is just the internal ID. It is not the ability to change or assign the different blueprint to a specific object instance. It's just the internal ID. If the administrator does try to secure these, we do display a message to them saying that this attribute cannot be secured. Certain other areas that are not impacted by the field level security. So classic UI, essentially any part of the classic UI does not get impacted. So the studio objects, views, portlet, pages, portlets, queries, none of these are impacted by the field level security. Reports and jobs do not honor the field level security. Audit trails, any objects that might have been audited, those audit trails will still capture the data. Zog will not honor the field level security. If you have gel scripts that are not using REST APIs, then those will not honor field level security. REST APIs will honor the field level security. Processes that have been built with gel scripts in it, then the same gel script logic applies. The data warehouse, as well as any OData service, those you would have to apply the security yourself. So those will not honor the field level security. This is a table that's been created to kind of a high level difference between the classic UI and the modern UX and how attributes were secured in the two. In classic UI, the only way to secure attributes was to create views within the object, then be able to have display conditions for those objects, and the display condition should include the user groups that should have the edit rights to that object. Then a combination of the object right plus the display condition of the view would control who can see or edit the data. And if you build any portlets, then you have to make sure you use the attribute value protection to ensure you are protecting the fields. Of course, the AVP, as everybody is aware, if you use that highest setting, then there would be a performance impact. So there was a lot of additional stuff you had to do. It is kind of tedious for administrators to ensure that the attributes are protected by doing all of these different combinations in the classic UI. In the modern UX, we have made that very streamlined. Now, attributes can be secured from a single place in a central location. You can give either view or edit rights to individual attributes, and those security then is respected everywhere in the modern UX. We, at least that is the plan. The hierarchy right now does not honor that, but we will get to it in the upcoming releases. But the plan is that everywhere in the modern UX, those security rights will be respected and followed. So let's go into the demonstration of how the field level security will work. In this demonstration, we will see how the administrators will secure attributes, and then we will see how those functionality is seen by the different users with different access rights. So I'm in my 15.8 system. I am going to go into administration for my modern UX. And because I have the access right to see attributes, I see this new tile that's available to me. I can go inside the new tile and you can see it's a common grid-like functionality where I am seeing all the attributes for project and ideas. So every attribute that has the API alias flag populated and that attribute can be displayed in the modern UX will be then available to me right here. I have the option to add or remove additional columns for my view. I can save my view as well as filter it down. So in this case, I have filtered it to see both projects and ideas. I can change that to just see the project. And then it'll show me just the project attributes that have the cost in the name. Right, so I have, in order for me to secure any additional attribute, I can just filter for that specific attribute. In this case, I'm going to secure the material cost by checking that flag. So now this specific attribute is secured and no user in the system, including administration, including the administrator, can see this attribute anywhere. I can then assign specific user groups. I can pick one or multiple. And now these user groups can view and edit this specific attribute within projects. I can then assign just view only rights to one or multiple other user groups. And now these users in these user groups can just view this specific attribute. The first question that comes to mind, that do I have to do this if I have multiple attributes? Do I have to do this many clickings for each attribute? The answer is no. We do have the option to copy. So I just highlighted the data I want to copy, and then I can select multiple fields below and just paste it. So I just use the Control V and C, Control C and Control V combination, and I am just now copying and pasting the data. So you can see I can easily assign a similar access right to multiple. And I can do the same. I can just highlight all of these. I can clear it. And then I can clear that out. So because we're using the common grid functionality, we have the option to easily assign the different access rights. And then if I want to have a copy for my reference, I can just export it out and have that copy saved as a CSV file. Now that I have assigned the secured rights to different fields, I can go into my project, and as an administrator that has the access to edit my financial fields, the first thing I see is there is my new icon. So since I've secured the financial fields, in this case, the planned capital cost and the planned operating cost are secured. I do see a visual indicator that these fields are secured. Because I'm the administrator that has the edit right assigned, I can edit that field. So I can double click on that field. I have the option to change this into a different value. I can do the same either in the grid view, or I can do the same in the detail flyout. So right here, I have the option to edit it, or I can go inside and do the same for my details module. So right here, I have the option to edit these because I have the edit right. Again, notice the visual indicator is displayed regardless of where you're looking at that attribute. So whether I am in the detail module, I am in the detail flyout, or in the grid view, the visual indicator is always available to me. Now, let me log in as a user that has only view rights. So I'm going to log out and log in as a user that has only view rights to these financial attributes. I'm going to go into my project. The first thing I see again is those visual icons are available right away, that I know that these two attributes are secured. I'm going to go into the same hardware, which value was changed, but when I try to edit it, I cannot. I get the, we prevent you from even before you can edit. If I go into the details, flyout, I see that these two values are grayed out and I cannot modify them. If I go inside the project, I see those again grayed out. So I cannot modify these fields because I only have view rights to these attributes. Now let's look at a user that does not have view or edit rights to this. So I'm logging in as a user that does not have view or edit rights. I'm going to go into the projects. The first thing you'll see that those attributes are automatically removed from my view. So I do not even see those attributes. If I try to find them, I don't see the planned cost as well as planned operating cost, the planned capital cost, planned cost, any of those fields, they're all removed from, so I don't even know that they exist out there. You'll also notice that the view is automatically changed from the default view to unsaved. That's basically because we removed those attributes. That's a visual indicator that there was something there and that has been automatically removed. I do have the option to save this new view so that I don't see this every time, and I can save it into any other view that I would want for myself. If I go inside my project, those fields are automatically removed. So I don't even see what those fields were. I only see a blank space. So again, in this case, the way I have it is that they were right in the middle of my section. So I see a white space. If I had it at the bottom, then it would not be as obvious to the end user. And if I was even better planned where I had it a section just with those secured fields, then the entire section would have been removed. And the last place was in the detail flyout. If I go into the detail flyout, you can see those fields are also removed from the detail flyout. All right, that concludes my demo for the field level security.